Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Go Up Podcast Edition,
where we explore the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven.
We're your hosts. I'm Dean.
I'm Karitas.
Karitas, today we are on round 3, talking about alternate timelines.
Yes.
When we started this, I didn't think it would go 3 rounds. You think it'll go 4?
I'm just not even going to make any predictions.
You're not going to make a prediction. Okay.
Yeah, we're in the wild, wild west here now.
We are completely in the Wild West.
What happens, happens.
That's right.
There's enough worries for this day. Do not worry about tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
We just need to get through this episode. Don't worry about the next one.
You're right. So, Karitas, I saw that you posted a picture of Blake at the aquarium.
Oh, yes. We went to the aquarium downtown against my better judgment. No, it actually went really well. Usually when we go to the aquarium, it's just chaos because there's people everywhere.
Right.
And Blake's not interested in what's in the tanks, really. He just kind of runs around, looks for that little gift shop that has the candy. That's kind of the goal.
But he looked like he was looking in the tanks.
Yeah, this time we went in there and, okay, it was almost deserted, which was glorious. It's just a bunch of moms with their baby buggies, one school field trip off on the far end. But we'd go to each tank and there'd be nobody there, which is so unusual. But he was so engaged and focused. We went to this one huge tank and there was this gigantic tuna fish. I don't even know it was a huge, beautiful in its own way fish. And it came from the far end of the tank right up to him. And they had this 3-minute moment just staring at each other. He was getting all excited, making eye contact with this gigantic fish. It was like this love language between the two of them.
Was this like a Nancy Cohen moment where he was shining and this fish came to see him?
I actually started videoing after a few minutes because I was like, this is not stopping. This fish is engaging. He's engaging.
Wow.
And everywhere we went, he was engaging. The little monkeys and the little birds and the sloth. Didn't really engage with the sloth because the sloth wasn't really engaging back.
Sloths don't engage with anything.
What is this ball of hair
hanging upside down?
It's like, they could just put a fake sloth and we'd all think it was a real sloth because they don't do anything.
That's right.
So anyways, yes, very engaged, very aware, spending a lot of time looking at the different creatures, and which was new for him. And we're actually finishing up that treatment I told you about.
Right, yeah.
Personalized repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Okay.
I think I got that mouthful out. PRTMS. I had shared, if you missed it, that we were offered this treatment.
Yeah.
Where it kind of just stimulates the brain waves a little bit, and they do EEGs, kind of see what areas of the brain are maybe not firing or as active as they should be, and then stimulate them a little bit magnetically.
Yeah.
With very mild doses. People get this for concussions and depression and sleep disorders, but this particular kind is more autism linked. So anyways, that was really interesting to see at the end of all these sessions, just the increased engagement and awareness. So
increased engagement, awareness, and focus.
And focus, yes.
Today we're talking about consciousness, and that's why I wanted to ask you about Blake, because there are so many things happening in the world of quantum and consciousness and stuff right now, and just the way that we're made and the way that synapses fire.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
You were talking about how even when you go to the beach you have a little beach house.
Yeah.
When you go to the beach on a full moon, you feel something different.
Yes, you can feel the energy, the electromagnetic energy of the ocean when the tide is high. They say if you're a surfer, that the first time you catch a big wave, that you feel that electromagnetic energy, that you'll never again be an accountant.
You're ruined forever.
You're ruined, yeah.
Yeah, because there is something about it. For the past 13 years, every full moon, like clockwork, I don't even need a calendar. I just go by how my son behaves on certain times of the month. And the full moons, super amped, very excitable, just a notch off. It's always the full moon, every single time without fail. But science will tell you there's no evidence, there is no proof that the moon does anything. You tell that to a psych nurse.
Yeah.
There is something with the electromagnetic connection that we have that we can't quite explain, and that data doesn't always seem to line up, but when you live it, you see there's a relation.
So Karitas, just before we dive into what we're going to talk about today, we want to mention our website.
Of course we do.
Yes.
We love mentioning our website.
We love mentioning our website.
letsgoup.us. You want to say it together, don't you? I can
I
see
don't.
you like,
Not yet. I'm not ready.
not ready. You'll never be ready.
I will be ready. Someday I'll be ready. Okay. I promise. Let's go up.us because we're in this together. Our website is a great one-stop place to find all kinds of things out about Let's Go Up. So you can access video and audio versions of this podcast, information about who we are, why we do what we do, and we love to do this. So we are going to head on into our subject, except make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and if you want to be notified, hit the notification bell.
Ding, ding. Good job, Dean.
Right. Okay.
You got it all out there. You almost forgot about the notification bell, but you saved it at the last minute there.
We put it in. We got it in there. Karitas, I think I've been on this track lately, doing a bit of a dive into the world of science and quantum. And I'm starting to realize that science is coming face to face with God in the quantum realm, and they're just not willing to admit it.
Right. We can't explain this. What is this bizarreness happening?
There have been so many things that I've seen in the last few weeks. Quantum particles are aligning, and they're thinking that there's a wormhole between them to space-time, which is basically nothingness, but they have a nickname for it. They're calling it the mind of God.
What?
Yeah. So science is like, they're seeing these things, and they're just crazy anomalies that they can't explain, and they don't know what to make of it. They don't even have language for it. But I feel like now it's so exciting to be alive because we get to be part of the unveiling of the science behind what God did when he created our cosmos and all the dimensions. It's starting to come out now. And if you actually attribute it to God and to a creator, it all makes sense. It's so nuts. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, I believe it was always his plan to reveal these things to us, right? The devil kind of tempted Eve with that. If you eat from this,
Right.
you'll know what God knows and blah, blah, blah. But his plan was always to reveal things to us as his children in his timing, in his brilliant way. And I feel like we're in this era of revealing of a whole new level.
Yeah.
Like we've seen it in the past when we look at history, different things being revealed to mankind that just changed the trajectory of our lives radically. And I feel like we're at the cusp of another great change.
We are.
Of revealing and enlightenment. And he wants to reveal it to his sons. Other people will hear it. Other people studying science because it's coming in.
Yeah.
But we're the ones that are created to carry it and bring it forth in such a pure, holy, complete way, right? And so we need to be comfortable being uncomfortable for a little while and exploring the unknown and hearing these things that we've never heard before and not being afraid of it.
Yeah. Like you said, people are going to hear it, and they are hearing it. And they're taking advantage of it, making it into buzz phrases, because right now it's the big buzz, and using it to make money with and all kinds of stuff, capitalizing on it.
Yeah, God, they're doing these things in your name, but they don't know you. He's like, okay, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't worry about them. I'll deal with them or whatever, but it's available to you.
Yeah.
Are you walking in this?
I think that there are some things that we need to come to grips with. As Christians, we've always wondered, how did Jesus do what he did? The only way that we've been able to make sense out of it is to either say, well, he was God, so he did that kind of stuff, and it's not available or accessible by us, or to say, well, he did lay aside his deity, and he did some pretty crazy, bizarre, wonderful things, but he must have had a really high level of faith that is so out of the world from what we can reach for that we'll never get there.
Yeah. So why try?
So why try? Yeah. But actually, Jesus did what he did. He laid down his deity. He came as
fully man,
just
as we were.
Yeah.
But not merely human.
But not merely human.
Right? Fully man, but born of God's seed.
That's right.
Wait, isn't that not what we are?
We are. Born from above is what we are.
I'll be like all the time, guys, you're still just thinking like mere humans. Have you not been born from above?
Yeah.
Are you still needing this elementary basic stuff? Come on, let's run with this.
Yeah. Anyhow, Jesus did what he did, and we can do what he did. And we have never really grasped how he did what he did. But I feel like right now it's being revealed. And I think that in the next decade or two, is going to be a huge shift in the way that we view even what a miracle is.
Yeah, because actually what he did, we call impossible in the understanding we have right now of matter and science and energy. That's impossible. Like, we have no grid for it from what we understand right now.
And so what we've done is we've taken all of the things that he did. We've taken even the definition of a miracle, and we've said it's an impossibility. But several times in the Bible, it says nothing is impossible with God. Like, there are no impossibilities here. Nothing's impossible to somebody who believes. Like, there's these kind of statements in the Bible, and we pass them off as being, yeah,
keep reading.
yeah, so let's just glass
Moving
over.
on.
Moving right on. Yeah.
Okay, turn the page.
Yeah.
Here's something else.
Yeah. So he did what he did in a very specific way, and we just haven't figured out how he did it. And I feel like now it's being revealed. And I feel like the next years are going to be so exciting because we're going to come back to the basics of what Jesus did and how he did it.
Yeah.
Jesus was a master at affecting energy because everything that we know and experience is energy. And he knew how to affect and move and radiate and change energy.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing constantly. And I feel like right now in the quantum field, we're starting to only now understand even what energy is, and we're starting to understand how it reacts. And in that realm, Jesus was constantly reaching in there, and he was accessing something that we need to learn.
Right. Yeah.
Because he said we can do the same thing, greater things even.
Yeah. I heard this one quote, how Einstein started to see some of this stuff in his calculations and in the science, and he couldn't understand it. So he just called it spooky science.
Yeah.
He's like, this is something.
Yeah.
It was sort of like the wormhole thing and energy in one area affecting another area billions of miles away kind of thing. And just it always matching up, but having no way to process that mentally yet.
Even now, we still don't have ways to process this, but we are seeing it and we're able to measure it somewhat now. So anyhow,
that was just kind of our intro.
That was our intro. So I think we kind of left off last week talking about faith. And I have to really say, like, even this week, just in my reading and everything that I've been sort of digesting and absorbing, I really do feel like faith is a quantum substance. It is so entangled in that realm. Even consciousness in the way that it works is just all entangled. And faith changes our heart. Faith pulls things from somewhere and manifests them on the screen of reality that we see. So somehow this is all related.
Yeah.
And it's no accident that it's starting to be seen now.
It is quite the mysterion. And I do think, because we're going here, that we should open our box of mystery.
Oh, please do. Okay. Yeah, let's do that right now.
Drum roll for me.
Got it.
There we go. Mystery.
Come on out. We invite the angels to come today and partner with us. Spirit of wisdom, Lady Wisdom. Lady Wisdom was there when God was creating everything. She knows how this all works because God did it that way.
She's got all these keys and these answers and just sitting back watching us, just playing in our sandbox.
That's right. Anyway, we invite you, Lady Wisdom, today, and we invite the seven spirits and the angels to partner with us, bring us language today.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Okay. We had talked about the past few weeks, how high are we reaching?
Yes.
Right? That was kind of the inspirations for it, right? Are we just kind of, it is what it is. Yeah, we'll just stay here on this path, but is there possibly more, which we see all throughout the promises of God and the Word, that there's more, right? And so how much more?
Yeah. It's amazing to me that it's all contained in promises. So promises sort of sit as that realm of infinite possibilities, of timelines. If we believe a promise, basically what we're doing is we're believing for something higher. We're believing for something different, something better, something higher. That's a higher timeline.
Yeah.
They're all there. They're all waiting.
Yeah.
There's an infinite amount of them in the realm of possibility, and they sit there unnoticed until we come to a place in our heart where we're like, okay, there's something better.
Yeah. And a big part of that is understanding our identity as sons of God, as sons of the King of Kings.
Yeah.
Right? If we don't understand that or believe in that, if we still think we're these worms and unworthy and broken and dirty, we won't even consider reaching for that, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, what works do we need to do? Just believe. Like it was a one-step process. Just believe.
Yeah.
All this stuff I say is available. Believe. Who I say you are. Believe. These promises. Just believe. Oh, this got to be more complicated than that.
It's actually not.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every phase of life has a principal timeline attached to it. The reason why I say that is because we go through many, many stages in life. And where you're at when you're between age 15 and 18 is not where you're at when you're age 40 to 45. So every phase of life has a timeline that we are engaged with. And then there are multiple sub-routines and sub-timelines under those in many different areas of our life. As we go along in life, we tie into and we engage with different timelines as we go through different stages. But where we end up and where we are today is a culmination of the choices we have made up to this point, our generational history, our life experiences, and our core beliefs. So every time that we enter a new phase of life and we choose that timeline, you chose to go to nursing school, that shifted your timeline into a completely different direction than it might have gone had you chosen to do something else. So every time we make a choice, it shifts us to a different direction and onto a different timeline.
Yeah. And in hindsight, I didn't have language or understanding for it at all. And I barely do now. But even then, I remember sitting in that big physics auditorium, just not feeling it. The energy wasn't aligning. Something in me wasn't aligning to this path I was on. The paperwork, it all lined up.
It looked good on paper.
This is great.
Yeah.
Perfect path for you. But the feeling of it was off. I couldn't shake it, this heaviness. And so here I am.
There you go. Yeah.
But anyways, complete timeline shift.
Yes, completely. Yeah. And so every time we make a choice like that, it sets our timeline and it sets our direction.
Yeah.
And where we are today is a culmination of all of those choices.
And we've realized over the years, now in our 40s, we now know going where peace leads you, it makes the choice of these timelines a lot easier. Man, when I go where peace leads me, not effort and striving or what looks right or sounds right, just where peace leads me, it really does seem to be the right path.
Yes. So I think what we want to talk about then is you end up at a place in life and it's a culmination of all of the things that we talked about, choices that we've made, but there's also generational stuff in there. Why is it so often that we end up in a place that looks like what our parents experienced?
Right. Yeah.
Because the energy of what we experienced in that environment, it's implanted into our heart as a template.
Right.
And we subconsciously make choices to go to that same place. It's also a combination of things that we've chosen to believe about ourselves, about our environment, who we are. All those things culminate into bringing us to the place that we are today. And like we said last week, you want to know what's in your heart, what is the image? Look around. That's what your image is. So now we're at a place where we're saying, God, is there a higher timeline for me? Yeah. I'm longing for something different. The reason why this resonates with me right now is because right now I'm in a season in life where I am longing for and contending for a different timeline. When we get into that situation, how do we upgrade timelines? How do I choose the highest version of me that I could ever be?
Yeah, the you that you were created to be.
Yeah.
Who God sees you as.
That's right.
Okay, so another question is, how do you know when to wait or when to move?
Yeah, because there's been times that I've wanted to make a change, and God has said to me, no, wait, now is not the time to change anything. And then there's other times that He said, go. So how do you know when it's time to go and when it's time to wait? What do you do in the meantime? Those are some of the things we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
They can be very confusing.
I think a big step is taking it to the Lord. A lot of times we spend so much time thinking about it, writing a pros and cons list and talking to friends about it, lots and lots of research and Googling.
Yep.
But have we taken it to Him? Really vulnerably, openly, just taking it to Him, being willing to hear whatever He's saying about it.
Mm-hmm. And I also think it makes a big difference what kind of a thing we're talking about here. Like if we're talking about a major shift in direction in life, it's different than, a day-to-day decision that we just want to do something better. Because there are lots of different versions. The realm of timelines, where they're stored and what is available to us is infinite. Mm-hmm. I think a few years ago when my wife and I started kind of going down to Bethel and engaging with their culture.
Down in Redding?
In Redding. because we went down there quite a few times, and I know that you've been there as well, you and Nathan and family. So they call themselves a dream culture. So for the first time in my life, I was encouraged to dream. Dream big, Dean. And Karitas, did I dream or what? I never knew that I could really, and I didn't even know what it was. But when I was given the permission to dream, I started going berserk. Conjuring up things, imaginations, things would come alive in my heart, things that I had desired that were sitting dormant in there that I never even knew were there. They all started bubbling up to the surface.
So good.
So imagine all of a sudden you've like lifted up the veil of all the alternate timelines and you're looking and you're like, my goodness.
I didn't even think that was a possibility.
No, right? You're looking at all of these variations. What's the right one? What do you do? Do you throw caution to the wind and go for something? Like, how do you handle this situation? And really what you're doing, you're opening up a realm of possibilities. And for the first time, you are giving yourself permission to look into this realm.
Wow.
And there it is. It's massive.
Yeah, don't put limits on what God has for your life.
No.
That's maybe for someone else, maybe someone more like Peter or, Jesus, not me. Dream big.
Dream big. So in the end, am I doing anything right now that I dreamed? Well, maybe in some ways, but it looks different than the way that I dreamed it.
Yeah.
The dreams had to come under the umbrella of union, and they had to be brought to Jesus. Because you have to imagine, what you're doing, he's going to be doing.
Right.
This.
Does he want to be doing this too? He's like, I don't really want to do that, Dean. I'm more into surfing than scuba diving. No.
And I know that you and Nathan have had a lot of sort of experience with dreams as well.
Yeah. One of the things was releasing that pressure to pick the one that God wants you to pick, that right one. And we realized, pick one. I'll be there with you. That right versus wrong, letting God down or, not picking the perfect exact path that we think he wanted us on, walking on it with him, pursuing it with him, with a pure heart and pure motives, excitement and wonder, not limiting what he can do on any of the paths. And we started to realize that this pressure was kind of this imaginary, self-imposed pressure we put on ourselves in our life. I think it kind of gets fed to you as you grow up. What are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to do? And we start to feel like we might fail if we pick the wrong one.
Right.
But are any of them wrong if we're with him as his son in that place?
Yeah.
Even if it happens to lead you down some road of, oops, he's there with you in it.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
And you shine like these guys in prison worshiping. Oops, how did we end up here? But they worshiped and praised and the chains broke and the doors opened. Prisoners heard them worshiping. Their lives were changed. Radical stuff happens when you go down these paths with him.
Yeah. So I wrote down some things. Now, this is not statement time.
A statement time with Dean. Where's my quilt?
This is not statement time.
But do you have statements coming up?
There are some statements that are going to come out here because I've been in this place so many times and I really wanted to think through for our listeners how I engaged with it to get to the place where some of the dreams actually did come true. I just wanted to be really honest with our listeners on how the process took place in my heart because I think for a lot of us it's similar. So I'm just going to go down this list.
Yeah,
and if
let's
there's anything,
go there.
if there's anything in here that
is blasphemous, you want me to call it out?
Yes. If there's anything that resonates.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted me to be listening in, make sure everything's biblical, Dean.
Right. So what do we do in a situation where we are longing for a different timeline, a shift? We find ourselves in a place and we know there's more. It can depend on the area of life that we're addressing. Some things can be tackled on the spot if they're small, and other things might need considerable reconstruction. Right?
We're going to have to take some things apart here, dismantle a whole bunch.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
We are where we are for reasons. And if we don't dismantle the reasons, we might not be able to shift to a higher timeline.
Whoa.
Right?
Well said, Dean.
If you're considering major shifts, life-altering choices, make sure you bring them into the realm of prayer first.
Go into that little closet.
That's right.
Or the mountaintop.
Go up. Some shifts might take weeks, months, even years. Always start by asking the difficult questions. How did I get here? Why am I in this place right now? So some things that I know in certain areas of my life that have held me back is there fear? Is there a generational hold? Is there something in our mind or the way that we're thinking that is keeping us here or that has brought us here? Because remember that changing timelines happens at the heart level first. It requires us to renew our mind so deeply that it changes the core image of who we are. So we really do need to look at how are we thinking.
Yeah. Well, people would come up to Jesus all the time and want healing, right?
Yeah.
And how many times did he look at them and say, do you want to be healed? What a weird question when you think about it. But he knew if you have identity attached to this ailment or fear attached to walking in what's actually available or anything else.
If it's hinged on something like that, you might actually be able to make a change to a different timeline, but it actually won't take hold. It won't stick.
Yeah.
I've actually known people who've been healed from things and it's actually reversed and gone back to the sickness again.
Right.
Because they weren't able to change what made them sick. So it's important that we address some of these things just honestly.
Yeah. Do you want the house swept clean? Do you want to fill it with him? That heart issue.
Because our heart, out of it flows all the issues of life. Our heart is so embedded in the process of upgrading timelines.
And Jesus knew that if we weren't in the right heart space, we could end up being worse off. If you sweep a house clean, but then you leave it empty, what you swept out will come back with 7 other friends or however he had put it. You're worse off than you started.
There's also been many times where I desired to make a change and Jesus has told me to wait, sometimes for years.
You're like, great.
Great. There have been things that I have taken hold of by faith in my dreaming days and really gone for. There's one time that I believed God for something and it got to the place where it was becoming so me that there was even angelic involvement already at the point where they were getting ready because if it becomes you, it's going to manifest. And so they're there to help that manifestation take place. And there was already angelic engagement.
Yeah, and they're excited.
And Jesus has told me, this is not for you.
Oh, the
It
angels
was so
are like,
painful because I had put so much into it.
yeah.
But he said, it's not the right thing for you. I could give it to you and you're headed in the right direction. And if you continue on this path, it will come into your life. But I need you to lay this down.
Yeah, it could be good, but I have something great.
That's right.
Trusting him that, there's nothing wrong with this. But if he's saying, just lay it down, Dean, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with it. It means there's something better. And do we believe him for the better?
That's right.
In everything?
Yeah.
With that dreaming heart of there's always more, it's always better. His thoughts about you outnumber the grains of sand. Think about his plans for you.
Yeah.
I know the plans I have for you. We love quoting it, but do we believe that? These plans he has for us to prosper us, not to harm us, for good and growth and expansion. Do we believe this?
That was brilliance right there. Mic drop worthy.
Ooh. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah. What did we just say?
It was good. Whatever it was. There we go. Mic drop's done. There's also a question I think we need to ask when we start longing for a higher timeline. Why am I longing for a higher timeline? Because I think that there can be some low frequency things that can prompt us to want to upgrade.
Right.
If we're upgrading out of things like I'm antsy or I'm restless or unhappy, if I'm operating at a low frequency, out of that comes frustration, and that frustration drives me to want a higher timeline. We might be longing for something that is coming out of a wrong place. And what we come up with as far as a version of a timeline that we might want might be completely out of line with what God has as a best timeline for us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're choosing something out of the wrong frequency.
Yes, yeah.
We're approaching it from the wrong place right off the start.
Yeah, huge. Even something that's so good, like healing.
Yeah.
We know it's his will that we walk in fullness and healing. If it's coming from this low frequency place, then if there is time, we get discouraged, hopeless, burnout, whatever it is. But if we're approaching that from a higher frequency, we trust his goodness and his plan for our life. It's not about my life getting easier. It's about his will and his desire. You don't burn out. You don't grow weary. He says the righteous will never be shaken. When it comes from that foundation of righteousness and trusting in him, despair doesn't exist.
This last life change that I made here, I was feeling it for 6 months. And Jesus said, wait, stay where you are. Don't do anything.
Oh, he did give you one thing to do. Love others well.
That's right. Yeah, right? He gave me that. He said, love others around you well. And in the end, love certain people well. It does say very specifically that faith works by love. So love is a very high frequency. I'm quite convinced that the reason why more things don't happen in our life is because if we're reaching for stuff outside of love, there's enough power in our heart, in what we carry, to blow up the world like with TNT.
Yeah.
We can do serious damage by not approaching this whole thing out of love, which is why it's so important to operate out of love, which is what Jesus did. Because of that, everywhere that he went, infinite possibilities were available to him. In no way was he approaching any timeline upgrade with anything outside of perfect and pure agape love, selfless love.
So that's a good question.
It is a good question. Am I approaching this out of love? Am I restless? Why am I wanting this upgrade? Sometimes the desire is good, but the heart space is wrong.
Yeah.
Jesus, upgrade my heart space.
Yeah, because the enemy will always tempt us with good desires that seem good.
Exactly.
He did it to Jesus. He would say biblical sounding things or good sounding things, but the heart of it wasn't love. It wasn't the Lord, but it sounded right. And so we need to be cautious with that, because it's easy to say, well, this must be God's will for my life because it feels good and it looks good and it makes me happy. But the enemy doesn't care if you're happy or unhappy, as long as you aren't walking in the fullness of what he has available. He doesn't care if you believe in God. He believes in God. The demons believe in God. They believe in him and tremble.
Yeah.
He doesn't care if you believe in him or go to church or do your devotionals. He cares if you believe him, like really believe him. If you see clearly and you start walking like a son, he cares about that. So laying our heart vulnerably and openly to him is so important.
So important, yes.
Yeah. You know where he says, I will give you the desires of your heart?
Yep.
I'd heard this one teacher say, he will give you the desires of your heart, meaning he will give you the desires your heart's meant to have.
Yeah.
He will change your heart's desires.
Yeah.
So you desire what he desires.
Yeah, just a personal touch on that. Right now, in framing up a new timeline in my own life, Jesus has me every day face to face with him. And what he told me is, come face to face with me, worship me every day, and let the desires that come out of that be the ones that come to the top. And let's talk about those ones.
Yes.
So he's doing that very thing in my heart
So
right now.
good.
Yeah. Because when we're face to face with him in that secret place, he does rearrange the desires of our heart.
Yeah.
And the things that come out then end up being our desires, but they're also his desires, because once again, he's going on the journey with us.
Yeah.
We're entangled with him. We're quantumly entangled with the heart of Jesus.
Where does Dean begin and where does he end?
Yeah.
You can't tell.
Where he moves, we move, and where we move, he moves, because we're in him and he's in us.
And you're walking in the light with him, just as he's in the light.
So once we're in that place of surrender,
We're moving along the algorithm here.
that's right, it's a really exciting place to ask Holy Spirit or the Spirit of Wisdom, Lady Wisdom, to give you a tour of the infinite realm of possibilities.
Oh, she's like, are you ready? Are you sure you're ready? It's gonna be a wild ride.
That's right, because there are infinite possibilities out there. And what we're looking for is we're looking for the one. The highest one. Only spirit to spirit will we know the mind of Christ like that. The things which are above and beyond all that we can ask or think. The things that have been set aside for us before the foundations of the earth.
That we didn't even consider
That's
as a
right.
possibility.
Yeah.
We can come up with our own options, but there are options out there that you haven't even considered.
That's right. So let Holy Spirit take you on a tour.
Please fasten your seatbelts.
That's right.
Vámonos, seis sentados, por favor.
So now we're opening up the chest of possibilities.
We need a
dream
chest
world.
too. We have our mystery box, but now
Yes.
we need a chest of dreams.
The chest of dreams, that's right. We peer into the realm, and what do we see? There can be a lot of beautiful options in the realm of possibility. Which one is the right one? What is the highest one we can reach for? At this point, there might be one obvious choice, or there might be several, because God has never been into the robot thing. My experience is also that once I'm fully surrendered, Jesus most oftentimes comes to me and says, which one would you like to do? And in the end, he lets it be my choice, but only after I've first fully surrendered to him. I always find that to be a most humbling place to be. I'm always thinking to myself, wherever I'm going to go and whatever I'm going to do, he's going to be doing because he's in me and I'm in him. So whatever choice I make and whatever direction I end up going, we're inextricably intertwined here. He's coming with me, but yet he trusts me enough to make this decision on behalf of both of us.
Yeah.
That's such a humbling place to be.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way that he is,
Yeah,
right?
It's beautiful. It puts another spin on to the pure in heart, all things are pure.
Mm-hmm.
When your heart is pure, you've denied anything that isn't him in your life. All these options are pure because you're going in them with him, a different depth to it.
So I do believe that there is a place we can live in life. There's a timeline that we can live on where we can make choices with our free will that always line up with his perfect will for our lives.
Yeah.
And that we're not always in this situation where we're questioning one thing or the other, but where he's okay with the directions that we're going because we're so united with him that he trusts us with every choice that we make.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of when he said, as you go, wherever you're going, as you go, I'm with you, right? Yeah. As you go about your life, we don't have to stress and overthink all these different choices. As you go, I'm with you and I'm in you and we're going to be doing this together. We're one, right? One set of footprints. We've talked about this before, the 2 footprints poem.
Right.
It's always one. He's not carrying you. You're one.
That's right. If you abide in me and my word abides in you, ask whatever you wish. It's on us. We're so in tune with him that he's put those desires in our heart and we're asking for these things that are coming out of this place of us and him.
You'll actually be asking what he's asking.
That's right.
He said, me and the Father are one. My desires are your desires are mine.
Yeah. So once we've come to the place where we have settled on a direction, a timeline, an upgrade, I think that we need to be very deliberate about how we react to that, how we carry it out, how we carry it through into the future. Basically, what we need to do is we need to upgrade the image in our heart to this. I was just talking with somebody today. He was talking about how he was sick. He was sick for months on end. And what he did is he actually sat in his secret place chair and upgraded his image deliberately in his heart.
Oh, yes.
Started to imagine what it would feel like to be in the shape that he was like before because he remembered it because he was a runner. He ran marathons. He literally started to imagine and recall what it felt like to be in that kind of shape again.
Yeah.
And he changed the image in his heart and his external changed.
Wow.
His body came into line with the new image that he created, and he did it very deliberately.
Yeah, we need to be deliberate, especially with what we're saying about ourselves and our path and where we are. When we're speaking death over ourselves, when our tongue has the power of life and death.
Yeah.
Even if you're seeing ailment or death, speak life and wholeness. If you keep speaking death and ailment, you're going to keep seeing it.
I think speak and believe. In the speaking and the believing, what we're doing is we need to change an internal image, a very deep-seated subconscious image. We need to become that thing. That's what we were talking about last week. We become it.
Yeah.
And once we become it, it reflects.
Yeah. And it's not about trying to just convince yourself, I'm well. It's actually believing it.
It is not in the realm of convincing yourself. If you're trying to convince yourself, it hasn't even gone beyond the first layer.
Yeah. It's like years ago, before I met you, this woman, I'd never met anyone like her before or anyone who spoke like this. I didn't understand that she was just walking in faith. She would say to me, your son is already healed. Yeah. And she believed it. And I'm like, you're literally watching this chaos happening of sickness. No. He is healed by Jesus' stripes. He's already healed. And I didn't have a grid for it because I'd never heard anything like that before, faith like that before. And then God started introducing different things in my path that started to water that seed of faith and belief and trusting him and believing him.
We need to start framing up that reality.
Yeah.
We frame it up with our belief. We frame it up with the words of our mouth. And when we talk about framing, what we need to do, we need to create the framework around that thing. We need to start building it so that it looks like something, because maybe we just have an idea of something, but we don't have the full picture. It needs to be a full picture. It needs to be a complete upgraded image.
Like your runner friend, did he buy a sweatband? You start wearing sweatbands around the house? Like, you're just dressing like a runner. No, I am a runner. You haven't run in 15 years. I'm a runner.
Yeah, we upgrade the image, we frame it up, and then we start on the journey of faith. to bring it into reality. We do that by believing that we have received it and it becoming us.
Yeah.
Right?
And one of the key things that you start to notice when you are truly believing this is the consistent joy, even before the framing up is complete.
Yeah.
Because it's coming from that solid foundation and the perspective is clear and the heart space is clear. And so there's joy through the journey.
So what we've done is we have gone into the quantum realm of infinite possibilities. We've made an educated, spirit-led decision. And now we're engaging faith, which is made of that same substance. We've engaged our consciousness.
The faith is the quantum substance,
Yes.
you said?
Yeah. And we engage it with our consciousness, and then that actually activates it as a possibility, and our faith takes it out and reflects it into our reality.
Yeah.
There's so many more things that we could say about this. There are a lot of scriptures. We're not going to get to them today because we're actually out of time.
We've got this whole Bible of scriptures.
Yeah. I'm just thinking now, like this is our third round of upgraded timelines. This might end up being a theme throughout the entire winter here.
This is why I didn't feel like having an opinion on how many we were doing.
You were wise, and you're holding back on making a prophetic declaration at the beginning.
I don't want to limit this. Infiniteness. Talk about infinite timelines. Possibilities.
Infinite number of podcast possibilities. Yeah. I think we're going to go at this again. I'm not going to say next week, but we do have some guests coming on. And if we get separated by a week or two, we're just going to continue on down this road.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Karitas, we're going to leave it there for the day. I'm just going to remind our Let's Go Uppers, you have permission to dream, but dream out of a healthy place in your heart. Don't dream out of frustration or restlessness.
Or unworthiness or brokenness.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, you are worthy to dream God's dreams.
Yes, you are. So have an awesome week, and we'll see you next time. In the meantime, dream big.
Bye.
Bye.